And welcome again to Cottage Talk. I am Russ Goldman. I am joined by Emilio Danello, the Fulham Shadow, and Steve Reynolds. They were at Craven Cottage for this 1-1 draw for Fulham against Sunderland in the FA Cup at Craven Cottage. Guys, we have a lot to talk about in this half-hour show. The way we're going to do this is we're going to go into our three positives from the match and our three negatives, three ups and three downs. And we'll go 3, 2, 1. So that's what we're going to do. But before we do that, let's just get initial reactions. I'm going to go to you first, Emilio. Give me your initial reaction of the 1-1 draw.
Hello, Russ. Hey, Steve. It was good to see you earlier today, you and Emma. We obviously talked throughout the game. I think we're very aligned in terms of what we saw today. So I'm sure when we end up discussing, we end up with the same feedback. What was my reaction today? Disappointment, really. To be honest, but I think I said before the game, we should be winning with that team, but don't be surprised we end up drawing or losing. I think, Steve, you can probably vouch for that. I thought there could be a bit of a surprise here. A lot of our first 11 were playing. Admittedly, there was a quite number of changes. I'm surprised with those that did actually start. I'll be honest with you. We can talk about that in a moment. But overall, disappointment we didn't get the job done. Nobody wanted a replay. First and foremost, first half very average. There were a lot of weaknesses, which we'll talk about, no doubt, in this show.
Yeah.
Second half, we came out with a little bit more. I don't know. We were more assertive on the front foot. Maybe on another day we maybe could have won the game, and on the flip side, I think Sunderland could have won the game. We were lucky to only be one down at half time. So overall, no qualms about the result. I think we didn't deserve to win. A draw was probably a fair result on the balance of play, but yeah, maybe I don't know. Just we're starting to lose a bit of steam. I'm not sure I should be worried at the moment, but we're not creating as many chances as we were a month ago. We're struggling to score goals. We're struggling to score, show a bit of quality where it counts, and depth may be an issue towards the end of the season. But overall, I think we just looked lethargic, sluggish, lacked a bit of quality in key areas, and in some backup play positions we're not good enough. So nothing to worry about. I'm not being negative here. I'm being honest here. But I'm just thinking sometimes just starting to see today, the last 2 or 3 games we haven't created enough quality, and today was another game where we should have won. But all respect to Sunderland, I thought they wanted the game more, and they gave us a lot of problems.
And that's a fair analysis. And before I go to Steve, I want to give Sunderland the credit that they deserve, and all of their supporters that made the trip. They certainly, you can make the argument that they deserved the draw, and they probably feel that they had their opportunities. They certainly had their opportunities to win. So they certainly came to win this match. So they deserve the credit. Definitely deserve the credit. But let's just be honest here. It's a Fulham show, so we're going to be focusing much more on Fulham, but I just wanted to start the show by giving credit to Sunderland and their supporters, and in case we don't talk enough about them, because the focus here is on Fulham. So full credit to Sunderland. All right, over to you, Steve Reynolds. Your initial reaction.
To be honest, Russ, I think I probably agree with most of what Emilio said.
Shocker.
I know it's an old, it's an old cliche, but it was a good game for the neutral. It was up and down for most of the game. I think 1-1 was a fair result. I initially went 2-0, but like Emilio, I was not going to be too surprised before kickoff if this is one we slipped up on. We've got congested fixture coming up. So as Emilio rightly said, we do not want a replay really, but it is what it is. But I think I said it to Emilio during the game. If I would describe our performance, it was disjointed at times. It seemed disjointed. There was no flowing movement as such. It was stop start. But on the whole, will we say 1-0? Yeah. Let's look on the bright side. We'll sit it in the drawer come Monday, or if it is Monday, I think it is, isn't it? Monday night. So yeah, good day out. 4,500 kilometre round trip, but it's worth it to meet up with Emilio and other friends. Yeah.
Well, that's great, Steve. Before we go on any further, I want to share this comment. Emilio, it's more towards you. Greetings to Russ and Steve and the legend that is the Fulham Shadow. So thank you, Chris. Thank you very much, Chris. And we actually...
My internet's working. My internet's working today. Look, I'm at my own home and it's working today.
Good. Fantastic. And we have some comments from Steve Lydiard, which I think when we go to the 3 down, that's when I'll share some of his commentary. So we'll wait on that because I want to start focusing on the positives here. And that's where the 3 up starts. So Emilio, we'll go in order from 3, 2, 1, 3 positives. It doesn't even have to be a player. It can be something in the match. It could be coaching, whatever. 3 ups. So what's your number 3 up in this match? Your third positive.
My third positive, I think so. I think I'm going to give Rodak a call out today because I thought he was probably my man of the match with Solomon. I thought Rodak kept us in the game at times. Admittedly, their keeper made some good saves second half, but I'm going to give my third. Obviously number 1 positive, the best positive. We'll talk about that after. I think Rodak had a solid game. He looked commanding. He made some important saves. We're under the cosh first time. Like I said, we should have probably been 2 down at half time. We started that first 10 minutes. We looked lively. As soon as Diop made a mistake, they scored a goal. We went really flat that rest of that first half. The second half, it was end to end. It was a typical full-blooded cup tie, like Steve said, end to end. Anyone could have won it. But Rodak, for us, kept us in the game, and it's good that we've got a strong backup keeper. And I think we've always kept talking about having strong backups for every position. That's one area I don't have a concern with keeper. We've got Leno's an excellent keeper. Whatever he picks up an injury or suspension, or whatever it may be, we know we've got strong cover there. So Rodak, call out, probably my man of the match because I thought he had a good game today.
Interesting. So that's your number 3. Steve, over to you. Do you agree with Emilio as being the number 3 up, or do you have a different one that you'd like to share?
I would have actually put, I'm going to move Rodak up the list.
Okay.
It sounds, a lot of people will probably disagree, but then again, who cares? Diop, I thought, had a poor first half. But he was a much more solid in the second. Yes, we can talk about the usual suspects. Solomon was lively, no 2 ways about it. And he was actually better when they switched him a couple of times. But number 3, I'm going to stick in young Andreas because I think his work ethic was very good throughout the whole match. And he was caught on the bad side regarding the way the play was going. So he had to keep basically tracking back, then coming in, inside, etc. So I'd put number 3. Yeah, I'd give Andreas.
Okay, excellent. So shout out for Andreas Pereira. Over to you, Emilio. Who's your number 2 here?
This is probably a more generic one. I think it's probably, look, we made a number of substitutions and changes for the games, right?
Yeah.
But clearly, Silva still treated this game with respect to some extent. I think,
that's a good one.
For me, I'm going to say, actually, give Silva some credit that he put plays on. I didn't expect Paulinho to play today, but clearly he started. Pereira I thought should have rested, played. So to be honest, Diop. So I think Kenny Tete. So clearly he tried to play a reasonably strong team, and give him his dues, he put his best plays on as substitutes to try to win the game outright. So it's not like you're completely changing your team and having complete 11 strangers playing on the pitch. Silva wanted to win this game and had a reasonably strong team that should have won outright and made the substitutions trying to win the game. So overall, I want to say that gives Silva some respect for giving Sunderland respect and obviously wanting Fulham to progress. And I'm not agreeing with Sean Kennedy. Fulham certainly did enough to win. So did Sunderland do enough to win as well. So hence why I'm saying it was probably a fair result to be a draw, because both teams did enough to win the game, but we were lucky not to be 2 down before we started to get into the game.
Okay, excellent stuff. I just shared the comment from Sean. Over to you, Steve. Your number two. I like
Well,
where
well,
Emilio
I'm
went
gonna,
on this.
I'm going to go one of Emilio on this one. I'm going to put Rodak at number two,
Okay, good.
because we could quite easily have been down certainly 2-0 come half time. And I think it would have been tricky to get back in the game. He also pulled off in the second half 1 or 2 excellent saves. Although, to be fair to both sets of supporters, they should be both proud of 2 very good goalkeepers today. Their
Yes,
goalkeeper was
excellent.
exceptional. He was very, very good. So, yeah, Rodak number 2.
Rodak number two. Very good there. Okay, Emilio, you're number one up for this match. What is it, or who is it?
Yeah, I was torn between giving it to Kenny for the goal, and I've since seen Chris give that, versus Solomon playing 90 minutes. I think, to me, I'm going to give it to Solomon. I thought
Okay.
he was probably our best player in the first half. Lively, good touch, trying to make things happen. But the second half, he drifted a little bit in and out. Then he worryingly seemed to pick up a knock in the last 5-10 minutes. I'm not sure if that's an injury or not, but yeah, he sort of pulled up a little bit and
Yeah,
was struggling.
yeah, he
Also, we had
got a
no
knock.
further substitutions to make. Overall, the one major bright spark, I'd say, other than Rodak in goal, I thought kept us in the game. I thought Solomon, with his invention qualities, I think that's the first time we've seen him play 90 minutes. So
Yes.
that's going to be a positive for me. That's been the most satisfying outcome of today's results. So yeah, I'm going to give it to Solomon more than Tom Kenny's goal. I think Tom, good goal, but didn't impact much else on the game, to be honest with you. But it was here and there, fits and starts. But yeah, I thought Solomon. I think everyone was keen to see what he could offer. We've seen 10, 20 minutes of substitutions the last few games. We saw him now for 90 minutes. Potential there. There's potential if he can stay fit. Needs to strengthen in some areas. He looks quite lightweight. Reminds me some. Is it Dennis Wise of Chelsea? I was saying to Steve in terms of vision. But overall, I think if he can stay free from injury, we've got a lot to look forward to with this player.
Okay, and just so you know, he actually tweeted after the match he was happy that he played the 90 minutes. So maybe that's a positive to come out of this. Maybe he's okay. Again, you can read a little bit too much into tweets. I don't want to read too much, but the fact that he tweeted after the match talking about how he played. And so I think that's a positive. But I'm glad that you said that, Emilio. I think that's something to watch from Solomon. I think this was important for him to play 90 minutes. And let's see if he can now take that into the Premier League. So for me, I think that's a huge positive. I understand why you went there, but I also understand why you mentioned the Kearney goal too. I thought Kearney played well. Steve, you're number one up.
I'm actually going to concur with my right honourable gentleman. I think he was very good. He was certainly very good in the first half. I think the last, he did pick up that knock. He picked up a knock with about 8-9 minutes to go, something like that. And it wasn't a tackle or nothing. He just seemed to put the engine into gear, and it was like a slight twinge. But I thought he was much more effective coming inside about 15 yards. Whereas on most of the first half, it was predominantly he was sitting fairly tight to the touchline. Second half, he tended to move around a bit, and he was coming inside a lot more. So, yeah, I'd probably go Solomon, although honourable mention for Kenny Tete, to be honest.
Okay, excellent.
Who also had a very good game.
Okay, very good. Guys, before we go to the negatives, and it's funny because here in Boston, people like to focus on the negative. So we'll go through our 3 down in just a second. Before we do that, I want to share a comment from our friend Chris Goodwin, who is a Liverpool supporter. So let's answer this one. Emilio, I'll give you first crack at this. How did Harry Wilson play?
How did Harry Wilson play? Anonymous first half. Didn't see him. Looked at, out of touch. Didn't look fit, off the pace. But second half, unfortunate not to score a goal. Some people may criticize him, maybe not to have been more clinical, and maybe I think Steve did make a point. Maybe he was a bit wasteful, which partially yes, but I was surprised he actually got taken off, to be honest with you, because I thought the first 20 minutes of that second half, he looked lively. You know, when we had played the long balls over their defence, he was stretching their fullbacks, cutting in. Good save from their keeper. Another one went low in the bottom corner. He looked lively, but then he got taken off, which surprised me, to be honest with you. As I didn't expect him to be subbed. I thought he was actually growing into the game. But so to answer Chris' question, poor first half, but actually looked entertaining second half before he got surprisingly taken off.
Okay, interesting take there. Steve, you and I have talked a lot about Harry Wilson. Your thoughts about how he played today?
To be honest, I agree with Emilio. The first half, he was so anonymous, it was a joke. Every time he got the ball, it was either taken off him or it was playing it back. You know, there was almost he didn't want to take responsibility. It seemed when he came out for the second half, he seemed a different player, almost as somebody gave a bit of a quiet word. Look, this isn't good enough. And I agree with Amelia. We were both surprised, actually, when he went off. Because just before he went off, he had that curler, didn't he? And he cut in on the 18-yard box. The goalkeeper got it, but it wasn't much in it. So, he is going to be an enigma. It's going to be, you either love him or you hate him, I think. I think the second half, it was a much, much better performance he put in than the first, I must admit. But on average, if you're giving him out of 10, 6.5, Emilio?
Yeah, about that.
Over 90? Or, something like that.
Okay.
We could see what he could offer, that second half. He obviously had a kick up the backside, but the tactics slightly changed second half. We were on the front foot a lot more direct than we were first half. It was like Steve mentioned earlier, sideways, backwards, sideways. It was just no rhythm. We changed it. We were a little bit more direct, and Wilson was latching onto those long balls, and I thought he did okay. So it'll be interesting whether it's fitness that Marco Silva took him off, or whether it'll be interesting to see why he was taken off, because I thought he still had more to offer.
Okay, great stuff, guys. All right, coming up next in the second half of this episode, we're going to the 3 down for Fulham against Sunderland. Okay, Emilio, let's start with your number 3 down. Like I said, it can be a player, it can be a decision. What's your number 3 down here for Fulham?
Yeah, it's I'm going to do these ones a little bit more generic, because you can argue that the 3 poor players are under in 3 poor players. I'm doing generic ones. This will be controversial, I think, but and I said it to Steve at the game, I was surprised we didn't give Patrick Roberts any respect. I was very disappointed with our fans. He got no applause. He ran his socks off. That's probably the best I've seen Patrick Roberts play at Fulham, with a Fulham shirt or without a Fulham shirt, to be honest with you. He ran our defence ragged today. He got substituted, no applause. I was actually very disappointed with that. He then obviously didn't applaud the Fulham supporters because we didn't give him any respect. So I'm disappointed with our fans. Why did we not give him any respect? We normally applaud our former players. They've come to the ground, they've had a good game. You applaud them off, and you acknowledge the fact that they've come back and playing for their new clubs. But that's a negative for me. I was disappointed by our fans.
Okay, interesting there. Over to you, Steve. Do you agree with Emilio as that being one of the negatives to come from the match?
Yeah, I semi-agree with Emilio. I think him and Diala, they ripped us apart first half, time and time and time again. And I think because Roberts I think he is playing very well at the moment, and he was playing that good, I think he absolutely paid off a lot of Fulham fans by playing the way he was. So I think that may have been the decision, but I wouldn't. We normally give respect to ex-players. But him aside, number 3, it's got to be Kasawa. I'm sorry. He first half he looked totally lost. It was we sat there and said, my God, what would we do if we had Jedi on? If we had Jedi playing, I'm not saying he's not going to get better. I hope he will. A lot of effort, but God, the first touch is awful. And he seems to panic when he gets the ball. He seems to play it too quick, or he plays the box standard straight across, or on a lot of occasions he was giving it back to Diop and playing it, and then putting them in trouble. It was he would probably be my number 3.
Okay, very good. Emilio, do you want to share your thoughts on Kurzawa, or is he coming up?
He's coming up as part of a bigger topic. Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. So let's get to it. Let's go to number 2.
I think a lot of it's about, I think we've always concluded this in some games, that maybe when teams press us, we struggle. That was again today. I think that was another negative. I think every time so the last 3 games, like I said earlier, we just seem to have gone off the ball a little bit. No, we've had an impressive season, but like I said, we're not creating as many clear-cut chances, if that makes sense. Sometimes our final ball hasn't been good enough, but give Sunderland their dues. I'm sure that many of them are listening tonight.
Yep.
They pressed for 95 minutes. And to be honest, on another day, like Sean says, we could have won, but equally they could have won the game as well. It could have gone either way today's tie, but we struggled. Even without our strongest 11 per se, the high press that Sunderland gave to us, we couldn't cope, to be honest with you. I had to rely on Rodak to keep us in the game. Maybe Paulini was being a little bit more restrained and not sort of getting us stuck in it. Maybe that was tactical as well. Don't commit to what you don't need to. Just keep your tackles a little bit lighter than normal. But just felt we lacked a bit of aggression, physical presence. Tom, in and out of the game, I thought that they ran through our midfield a little bit too easy today, and that pressing caused us defensive problems. Tosin, I thought, had a shocker. To be honest, it just didn't give me any confidence. We missed Ream in that central defence, both from a defensive perspective, but also leadership. We need someone of that ilk to lead that back four, and I think we missed Tim Ream massively today. But I just think for me, when teams pressed us, we struggled, and we had limited response. To be honest with you, so that was another negative for me.
Okay, that's an interesting one. Over to you, Steve. Emilio's going with dealing with the press as being his number 2 down. If you want to share your thoughts on that, feel free to, and then also share your number 2 down.
I don't know. We just didn't seem comfortable when on the ball. It was almost like at the back, as soon as they got the ball, they wanted to get rid of it. There was no real thought between the back 4. There was nothing going on at all. Tosin did. He did not have a good game. But I think even when, and I've been a great supporter of Reed, but even when Harrison come on, nothing really changed. I think certain people, Plenia, put in a good, solid first half. He got that water upon his shin, and I think that might have possibly affected him for the second half. But it was in the second half when the subs were made. It seemed like no one knew exactly where they should be. 1 minute, Pereira's over on the left-hand side. The next minute, he's over on the right. Then you've got Solomon coming over on the right. And you're thinking, well, hang on. What bloody formation are we playing here? Who's playing where? And it seemed to me, certainly the last 15, we didn't know where the hell we were bloody playing. But, if we... 1-0, fair result, and I'll leave it at the tactics again. I think Silva, controversial, but I think Silva is getting. I'm not saying he's panicking, but I think he's getting short of ideas. We've got no one coming off that bench, that talisman. who can ignite the team with 15, maybe 20 to go. Mitro come on. He is not fit, no two ways. I think he's still carrying an injury. But yeah, I mean, I'd go probably agree with the media on most of that as far as the tactics. We seem lost at times.
Excellent.
Yeah, the point you made, Steve, about, in 1 minute Solomon's on the left, then he's on the right. Pereira dropping deep, going in the middle. It seemed to be, I think he was going gung-ho to win the game. Nobody wanted a replay. Both teams didn't want that. And obviously he took a risk, Silva, by sort of compromising.
But I don't think I don't think Silva knew exactly what he wanted to do with the players.
No.
He's put them on
attacking options, didn't we, at that point?
They were switching so often.
Yeah.
We were struggling to keep up on who the hell was on the right hand side at times. I'd put their tactics weren't brilliant.
Okay, excellent. Guys, let's finish this up with going with the number one down here. Emilio, what's the biggest negative to come out of this FA Cup match?
Which fringe? No, not one fringe player warranted being a starting 11 player. I think that was the biggest thing today. Okay. You look at all the players who came. Solomon. We'll talk about Solomon. We look from front to back or back to front. Leonard. I think we talk about and Rodat being a banger. That's fine. I'm okay with that. But Kurzawa had an absolute shocker, to be honest. He got turned inside out, especially first half. Thanks to him, we could have been 2 down, to be honest with you. He was awful. Really awful. His touch, like Steve said, was an absolute disgrace. But, he was just shaken inside out. I'm surprised he didn't get taken off at half time, but I think everyone was calling for his head at half time.
That was our shout. Half time, replace him. Yeah.
So again, for me, my negative was the depth. It goes back to depth. All our players have been punching above their weights. Many of them have been punching above their weight this season. And we were saying over a drink before the game in the pub that if those players aren't punching above their weight and they're average, or the quality that you typically expect, the likes of Bobby Reid, Harrison Reid, these players, when they're not punching at that level, we seem to be very average. And today, which fringe players warranted being a starting 11? Kurzawa was awful. Wilson didn't do enough. We had to rely some of our sort of bigger players. Vinicius.
I was about to bring up Vinicius.
Sorry, so static. We kept saying this. He's always looking for the ball to come to him rather than anticipating going into those danger areas. It was a passenger the whole game. It was awful today. And so for me, that's my biggest criticism of the game today. The fringe players had a chance to step up, but nobody warranted to say, I actually had a superb game. Tosin, I thought, were very insecure in defence, maybe very, very nervous at times. Diop, like Steve said, grew into the game despite his error at the beginning. But those other players nobody deserved to warrant a starting position. And Solomon, I think, needs to prove a bit more fitness before we start to see him in the Premier League week in, week out. Still going to be a few games, to be honest with you. I don't see him starting against Chelsea. I see him still being a substitute and gradually showing his fitness. And if he can demonstrate qualities and fitness levels, then maybe he will start. But nobody there will warrant being a starting 11 player if Silva had all these players fit.
Okay, interesting take there as your number one. Steve, do you agree with Emilio as that being the number one negative from this match?
Yeah, I think going through them, Diop got caught on the first for the goal purely because Kurzawa was like some kind of bloody racehorse. He was so far upfield that he put Diop in a situation whereby he got mugged. I think as far as young Solomon's concerned, I think he needs half a stone on him. Mm. His first touch is very good. His control is very good. No two ways about it. But he gets bundled off the ball too easy. If I was going to have one gripe, I would say, was it right for Fulham to allocate 6,000 to the opposition?
Okay.
Now I'll give them total credit. They sang their hearts out from the first whistle to final whistle. and they gave him great support. But should we do that again? I think 6,000 is too many.
Okay.
You want home
Interesting.
support. I mean, we weren't bad,
Right.
but when you got 6,000 down the punty end, I think that could have been a slight downer. But
Okay. Interesting.
all credit to them though. They came. They fought. They ran us ragged at times. We did not look like a Premiership team. We looked like it looked like a good old fashioned Championship match.
Okay.
But
Well, that's not good, Steve.
you know, good credit to them. They deserve the draw. Replay, I wouldn't fancy us. Be perfectly honest, I wouldn't fancy us up there. But
Okay,
we'll see.
interesting.
We'll see.
Okay. Guys, to finish up the show, a little bonus. Let's do man of the match. Emilio, who was your man of the match?
I think I alluded at the beginning. I'm going to give it to Rodak more than I know. A lot of people are saying Solomon, jumping on the Solomon bandwagon, but I'm going to give it to Rodak. He kept us in the game. He looked secure behind the goal, and we know we've got a good backup there. You know, I still, hands down, I prefer Leno as my number one keeper without a shadow of a doubt. But overall, I thought Rodak was strong in defense. So I'm going to give it to Rodak today.
Okay, Steve, who are you going to give it to?
I'm going to probably agree. I think Rodak, when called upon, performed as a goalkeeper should. He put in 100% and gave 100%, which is more than I could say for most of the players. Who the only person I'd put up there possibly close would be Kenny Tete, who I thought had a very good game. But otherwise, that's it. Right all day long, I think.
Okay. I want to share this from our friend Chris Goodwin. The allocation for an FA Cup has to be up to 15% of the capacity. So maybe that answers your question there, Steve.
What's our official capacity?
23 now. With that.
Is it 26? 26?
Well, it's not 30 yet.
That doesn't make 15% of our capacity is not 6,000. It's a lot less.
Okay.
I didn't get any exams at maths, so I don't ask me.
Okay. All right. Great show, guys. I want to just share one last comment, and we're going to wrap this up. This is from Black, White, and Fred. Tom Kearney, man of the match for me. Only player that looked to create, and obviously for the goal as well. So shout out for Tom Kearney. Let's see. Chris Goodwin says 19,059. What was that?
I thought Kearney had overdone it.
Yeah,
I'm surprised actually went in, and I thought this is what they've done all game in the box. They're trying to walk it in, and I thought here we go again. And I was probably more. I think same as the media. We were quite surprised when it actually went in because I thought he took about 2 touches too many. But
yes.
hey, we'll go for it. We're Fulham.
Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap up the show. Before I do, a couple things I want to mention. Of course, Emma already mentioned this. Please do subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. It does help other Fulham supporters find us. It might also help Sunderland supporters find us because I'm sure they're going to like some of the things that we said about them in this show. So please do subscribe on Apple Podcasts and also on YouTube. Emilio, the Fulham Shadow, I need to get you back here much more often. I know it's difficult. Your schedule's very hard right now, Emilio.
Yeah.
So, but I just got to say how much I enjoyed having you on the show tonight.
Yeah, perfect. It's been good to be back. I'll do next Friday night outside Stamford Bridge on my way home from Stamford Bridge. So,
all right.
All
right. I'm going to hold you to that. I'm going to hold you to that, Emilio.
Yeah.
The Fulham Shadow's going to be back in action. I like to hear that. Mr. Reynolds, as always, it's a pleasure speaking with you. I talk to like 5 times a week. So
never a problem, Russ. Unfortunately, I can't afford to come all the way back here again on Friday for the Chelsea game. So he'll have to wait a little while.
Okay. Well, great stuff. Well, I'm going to wrap up this show. Thank you, everyone that does watch and listen to Cottage Talk. The numbers have been fantastic, and we really appreciate it. But I'm going to wrap this up. For Emilio Donnell, the Fulham Shadow, and Steve Reynolds, the Fulham Fart, I'm Russ Goldman. Thank you as always for watching and listening to Cottage Talk, now part of the TalkSport Fan Network.